Welcome to Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now you can learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property. Learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau with the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denisi, and Corker. He's a member of the Committee on Professional Ethics of the Bar Association of Nassau County and counsel to the Nassau Academy of Law. And now, here is your host for Law You Should Know, attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. This is part of our annual real estate series, and we're glad to have back Bill Horan, who's an experienced real estate attorney, but he's also the host of Secrets of Success right here on WHPC 90.3 every Wednesday at 4 p.m. or Sunday mornings at 7:30. And today he's going to talk to us about secrets of success in a real estate transaction. Lawyers who are listening, many of you can earn CLE credit by recording the code at the end of this program. And for further information on CLE, contact the Nassau Academy of Law at 516-747-4464 or visit them at the web at nassaubar.org. Bill, welcome back to Law You Should Know.
Ken, always great to be here.
We've talked about many aspects of real estate over the years and the various parties, but since you're an expert on how to make things work well and the secrets of success, I thought we would talk for lawyers, their clients, all parties to a real estate transaction, or anyone who's concerned with real estate. What are the secrets of success in a real estate transaction? And break it up by each party in the transaction.
Well, I guess we start off with the attorney for the seller. And someone selling their house, this is an important part of their life. They've probably been in the house anywhere from a few years, and most likely it might be 20, 30, 40 years that they've been in, and now they're ready to move on to something. It's important that the attorney sit down and find out what really is that client looking for. And I mention that because today we have excellent paralegals, and they may be doing the intake, but the attorney, does he or she ever get this? I mean, I'm sure they get the information on the sheet, but just the feel. Maybe you're very emotional about it. Maybe you or your spouse doesn't want to sell. One may want to sell. One may have to sell. It might be a situation where there's an illness or something coming up in the family that's forcing this. So there might be a little internal drama. You want to find these things out and, just be cognizant of them. Sometime, and I got caught on this years ago on a deal, the boss in the office did the intake and said, you handle Mr. and Mrs. Smith's closing. Of course, that's not their real name. Well, I did, and I talked to Mr. Smith, and I told him everything to bring and what he should bring, and he did nothing. But he was very friendly and very nice. And, you got it, Bill, you got it. I'll have everything there. And after the closing, I mentioned this to the boss. He said, you never talk to him. You always talk to the wife. Unfortunately, he didn't tell me that till after the closing. And we had a lot of things missing and the papers that the gentleman was going to bring. He certainly wasn't the business person in the group.
And on that note, I also want to mention, in terms of goals, it's not one size fits all. Someone may want to buy a retirement home. Some may want to gift it. Someone may be the victim of an underwater property. Someone may be in a rush to move, or maybe there's an estate involved. It's very important that the client communicate to the attorney, but also the attorney find out the exact circumstances.
Oh, definitely. And that's why I say a little conversation will bring things out. And it shouldn't be one of these speedy click, click, click things. And on that note, I'll just mention, too, that when you are dealing with a real estate closing, and I'll say this for any specific area of law, you want someone who handles real estate. You might think you're doing your neighbor a favor by using their daughter or their nephew or their husband. And if that person's a real estate attorney, that might be fine. But I always used to tell people you should be comfortable with the attorney. If you go in and you don't find that he or she just matches with the way you feel comfortable or talk, you're probably going to be at odds with them all the way through. Find someone you like and you're comfortable with and you connect with.
And also, rather than saving a few bucks, you want to make sure you're aware of someone who can prevent and resolve problems, because they're always going to come up, and you want someone who knows how to resolve problems and prevent them.
And as someone used to say, if you've been there and done that already, and most real estate attorneys are, they kind of know they've had that problem before. You're usually not the first one with it. and they've come across it and they have a good resolution for it, maybe an escrow, maybe a repair.
And if you're concerned about something about the buyer, or if you're concerned about something about the property, maybe you've done some changes to it and there might be some problems with the paperwork, let your attorney know up front to prevent problems at the tail end.
I can't stress that enough, and I know you stressed it, and we talked about it before the show. When the parties get together, the seller knows more about the house. Let's keep in mind, the attorney knows the legal aspects, but the seller knows the personal items. And by that I mean they know if the house has a certificate of occupancy, which a house needs. They know if it has what they call a certificate of completion. If they added on a garage or a pool or something like that, the certificate of completion would be necessary. Were there any changes? Is there some problem? Is the property involved in a lawsuit? Don't kind of hope that the attorney isn't going to find this out. He or she will, and then it's going to cost you more because they're going to have to do more running around and maneuvering at the last minute to try to save you a lawsuit, which if you told them early, it would save a lot of problems.
And also the seller should see the attorney first before they sign a deal with a real estate broker in case the attorney wants to give them any advice on signing that listing agreement.
Absolutely, and actually for several reasons. One today is that once you determine you want to buy that house, everybody's going to move quickly. We have this thing called email. And within moments, the broker calls the seller's attorney prepares the papers, it goes to the buyer's attorney. You can have a contract to another attorney in an hour and a half. And things are going to move quickly. You want to have your attorney ready, because if you're just starting then, if it takes 5 or 7 days for you to get the papers to the attorney because of your work schedule, or maybe you have parent-teacher conferences, that attorney doesn't have the information he or she needs, and they can't put the contract together. And in the meantime, the buyer might be saying, I'm getting tired of waiting. I'll look at the other house, or someone calls them back and say, we accept your lower offer because we don't have a better deal, and you've lost your deal.
And again, once you sign, let's say, a listing agreement or a binder or a contract, you give your rights away. So you want to talk to the attorney. Your attorney is the seller about putting favorable or clear terms in that listing agreement to meet your expectations.
Well, that's another thing, too. It lets the attorney, if there are some special things that the attorney finds out about, maybe there is a problem with the house. Well, you can sell it as is and say, there is this problem, but we're selling it. We're making you advised of it. And I've done that in contracts, so there's no last-minute arguments, because people get very nervous then. They're all ready to move. The movers are there, and all of a sudden the deal might not go through. And instead of having that $500,000 check and the mortgage paid off, they have to go back in the house, start over. That's when the problem really hits the wall.
Okay, let's talk about the other side of the table, the attorney for the buyer and the buyer. So what are secrets of success for them in a real estate transaction?
We'll start out the same way, Ken, that if you're looking to buy a house, talk to an attorney early on. Meet someone that you feel comfortable with. And you don't want to be calling them up and say, I found a house, I just got this, you're going to get the contract this afternoon. That's okay, but you're not getting your full money's worth, because let that attorney know what factors are important to you. Is the main thing that you close 3 months from now? Is the main thing that you want to stall the closing as long as possible because you're expecting more money at your job or waiting for a bonus, something like that? You want the attorney to know what's important to you. It may be important that you get in there, and we often see this. A lot of closings take place in the summer. Parents want to get in so that the children are in the school district by August. They can get all the papers signed with the school. And then you know how awkward it is that first day of school. If you're new in the school and then you miss the first 2 or 3 days, that poor kid is starting out already behind. Now he really feels, or she feels, awkward. They're walking into class, and all this could have been worked on earlier, and to the satisfaction of both parties, and probably saved a lot of people vacation headaches too, including the lawyers.
And again, I also want to mention the attorney for the buyer should ask the buyer, and the buyer should ask their attorney about about options in getting mortgages. Maybe the attorney has some caveats on sources of lending, about the funds they're going to need, the other closing costs, so to prevent any last-minute problems. If they're concerned about testing or the condition of the house, what some of the testing options might be, or any other concerns they have about the property, the neighborhood, they should address it to the attorney. The attorney should solicit any special concerns they have to prevent problems down the road.
And again, a good real estate attorney knows they've gone through the ranks before. They're going to recommend perhaps a lender to you. You don't have to use them, but they'll say, I've had success with Capital One Bank or with the Teachers Credit Union or something. If that attorney knows they're good, why experiment with something you saw on late night TV or bargain radio or something like that? This way you know what you're getting. You're getting a reputable organization. The attorney has dealt with them. He or she has some rapport with that entity. They might also recommend to you where to go for a home inspection. And anybody buying a house today, you do want to have that inspection. Unless you're very astute at real estate and construction, a very minor, let's say what you see as a minor crack in the wall may be the sign of concrete cement that's damaged, a future leak, etc., and it could be very costly to you. One of the things we find, and this is, the psychologists all find this, we will go to great troubles to run to Macy's to save $5 because we have a coupon, or the local supermarket for $10. Yet a mistake with a house that could cost you anywhere from $100 to tens of thousands of dollars, and I've had other attorneys tell me, and I've experienced it myself, that people will not be that worried about it because they want that house. It's close to the school, the church, where they work. It has a green door or it has a pool. They get overwhelmed by that, and then they take on a burden that they would kill themselves just to save $10 or $15 at the supermarket, and here they could easily save $1,000 or $2,000.
And you mentioned about their knowledge of home improvements. If they are planning on making repairs or doing expansions, they may want to bring a contractor in to get estimates and find out if something is doable, and also check with the attorney about the zoning issues, and if they want to have a home office, if they want to rent out and turn it into a two-family, they want to check on all the legality of that before they sign the contract.
Oh, absolutely, and the sooner the better. And to the client's benefit, they're getting more from their attorney by doing that early on and giving the attorney time, because if it's a unique issue or something that fits into a special niche, the attorney has time to investigate it for them, get them the right answer, and set them up properly in what they're doing in the future.
Okay, we're going to take a short break in a moment, and I just want to remind our attorneys out there that you can qualify for CLE credit by listening to the show and recording the code at the end of the program. We're talking with attorney Bill Horan, who's also the Secrets of Success, which is right here on 90.3 WHPC, and also over the internet at ncc.edu/WHPC every Wednesday at 4 p.m. or Sunday at 7:30 a.m. A great show. We're talking to him today about secrets of success in a real estate matter, tips for lawyers and anyone involved in a real estate transaction. And we'll be back in a moment after this message.
This portion of programming on WHPC is brought to you on behalf of the Nassau County Bar Association, who wants you to know about ADR, Alternate Dispute Resolution, which can help you avoid costly, lengthy, and uncertain litigation in court. By resolving disputes through mediation or arbitration, it gives you control over who decides your case. A mediator helps all parties to reach an agreement they can live with, or an arbitrator selected by the parties hears and decides the case. Your attorney can still represent you, but you control who decides your case. ADR is faster and less stressful than fighting in court, and it is a great way to resolve divorce, employment, or commercial disputes. ADR is now offered through the Nassau County Bar Association. Find out more about how ADR can help resolve your dispute by calling 516-747-4070 or visit nassaubar.org.
Once again, we continue with Law You Should Know. From the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denise, Corker, and Sauer, here is attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Welcome back to Law You Should Know. We're talking about secrets of success in a real estate matter, and our guest is attorney Bill Horan. He's an expert on real estate. He also is the host of Secrets of Success, heard right here on WHPC 90.3. every Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or Sundays at 7:30 a.m. Bill, you were telling us about tips for the seller and the attorney for the seller, tips for the attorney for the buyer, and you were telling us about tips for the buyer as well. Do you have other tips for the buyer?
And these are really easy for the buyer, Ken. One is if they want to check if there's any insurance complaints against the house. In other words, if anything has been filed, this way they'd find out if there was a major fire or a leak, just to be aware of that. There's a couple of groups. One is called CLUE, C-L-U-E, for Comprehensive Loss Underwriting Exchange, and the other is called A-plus, just like A+. And this can give you information almost like they do with if you're buying a used car on if there was any major damage to the house that you'd want to know about that may come back to haunt you in later years. Another way for a prospective